Hello, good morning ICAPS. Welcome to the final day. And so I have the honour of introducing our final invited speaker, and that is Steve Smith. So many of us know him already. He's been a valued part of the ICAPS community for a long time. He is a research professor in the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon University, and he leads the Intelligent Coordination and Logistics Laboratory. He's pioneered over the years many approaches to constraint-based search and optimization model planning approaches, and one of the things that's really great is he's applied these in a wide range of applications. So he, as I said, he's got a long history with ICAPS. He was a founding member of the ICAPS Council. He was Programme Chair in ICAPS 2006, which incidentally was my very first ICAPS. And he next year will be chairing ICAPS, so I'm sure he'll do a great job of that. He's currently on the AAAI Executive Council. He's Associate Editor of the Journal of Scheduling and on the editorial boards of many other journals. He was elected a AAAI Fellow in 2007. So let's welcome Steve.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks. I appreciate all you guys who made it back from the boat last night. And, I was wondering how many could show up today. That's great. My group for the last, I guess, 5.5 years now has been working on the problem of real-time traffic control, and that's really what I'm going to talk to you about today. We kind of got, we came into it from left field, a local philanthropist who, you know, was sort of interested in improving traffic in the Pittsburgh area, and came to Carnegie Mellon to see what was happening there and how we could make an impact. And it just so happened it was a nice timing for my group. We just had a tremendously large DARPA contract canceled, and we were looking for things to do. But it actually turned out really well. So I'm going to share with you the experience that we've had in that over the last couple of years, and describe what we're doing today. So. My talk, really, I'll spend a couple minutes talking about the traffic signal control problem, and then give you an overview. We are interested in the real-time problem. We treat it as a distributed online planning problem, and so I'll give you an overview of the approach, the technical approach that we've taken. Then I'll spend some time talking about some field experiments that we've engaged in now for several years. And then finally, work that we've been focused on over the last, I guess about the last year and a half, at sort of integrating some of our technology results with this sort of emerging connected vehicle technology that we'll be seeing. So the problem we're focused on is traffic congestion. I don't think one thing that's interesting about traffic is you don't really have to convince anybody it's a problem, and everybody has an opinion on how to fix it. But traffic congestion is a real problem. We all know that. This on the board here is Texas Transportation Institute does an annual mobility study. This is in the U.S. here, but this is of urban centers in the U.S. And I guess the last study estimates now that U.S. urban centers and urban traffic control is really what we're focused. Really costs on the order of $121 billion a year in terms of two things basically, in terms of lost time, commuting and fuel consumption. So we also, given that the vast majority of our cars are still gasoline powered, we're producing a lot of CO2, 50 billion pounds are being pumped into the air, and we get along a range of other toxic things. Another sort of companion study sort of estimates that in urban areas, typically spend 40% of our time sort of idling, which is fairly amazing. So, you know, it used to be that, I mean, the traditional traffic engineering perspective on congestion is, well, we'll build our way out of it. You know, we just add more capacity, bigger roads. But in urban areas particularly, you know, that's not really typically an option. Pittsburgh, for example, is a great example of that, where we've got mountains, tunnels entering the city. There's just really no way, short of tremendous investment to be able to do it. So, got to look to other ways to sort of focus on that. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I guess one major reason for traffic condition is the poorly timed signals. That's one big reason, and that's one big area where we can make a difference. You know, if I look at the vast majority of intersections around the world, really, they're sort of controlled by fixed, what are called fixed timing plans. You know, this is kind of a snapshot of the average traffic conditions at one point in time. Someone went out and did some counts and sort of estimated what traffic flows were like, and sort of designed a set of timing plans to sort of meet that snapshot. It's designed for average traffic conditions. The other thing that you know, the world is not a static place, and as soon as they're installed, they start to age, and as traffic conditions evolve and change over time, these plans do the same thing every time. So you know, so you're faced with this problem of sort of constantly having to update them, retime them, and that doesn't happen all that, you know, have all that regularly. They estimate you should do that once every couple of years, depending on growth or the area or change. But the downtown signals in Pittsburgh, I think the last time they were changed was in 2000. So municipalities don't have one. There are systems out there that have adaptive capabilities, and but these also tend to have inherent limitations. You know, the simplest form of adaptive control is referred to as actuated control. Is really only detect and respond to traffic that's already sitting and waiting. So if you know, if you ever experience coming up the traffic light in the middle of the night, well, if there's no sensing there, you get very impatient. But if otherwise, if there is sensing in the ground, maybe the magnetic loops, it'll detect that, give you the green, and go. But it doesn't do any kind of anticipation of the traffic that's moving towards you. Other classes of systems tend to operate with you know, sort of parametric adjustments to different parameters, and don't really respond to real-time events. Really sort of gauge the average over time. And then there are other techniques that are really designed with respect to arterials and you know, in situations where there's more than one dominant road, there's a difficulty, there's a competition that's not really addressed. So what are we talking about? Here's just a diagram of kind of the target, what we're after, referred to typically as single timing plans. I've drawn a little caricature of a simple intersection there with a number of different numbered arrows. So those are really different flows, different paths you can take through the intersection. What typically happens is compatible movements are grouped into what are called movement phases. So you can see here there's sort of four basic ones. There's 2-6, which moves east-west, 4-8, which moves north-south, and then you see some compatible turning phases. And once you have those grouping of phases, then a timing plan is just sort of an evolution of who's going to get the green at each point in time. So I've put a little sequence here, you know, where we started, you know, so you run 2-6 for some period of time, switch to 1-5, 4-8, and so on. So that's if you notice this particular example here, you can see the sequence repeats, and that's fairly common. You have a fixed cycle in which you visit every phase, and we're actually going to, here, the work that we do is going to take advantage of that same idea, with one exception, that for minor phases, say left turns, or leading left turns, things like that, we may in fact decide to skip it, but we won't just arbitrarily move to the different phases. So, and as I said, I guess as I said before, conventional signal systems, these timing plans are built in advance, they're fixed, you run them. What we're interested in are adaptives. They're going to sense what the approaching traffic is and adjust in real time. So there are a number of different approaches. Adaptive signal control has been around for 30, 40 years, so 30, actually, 40 years. I've sort of grouped them into a couple different categories here. Centralized systems have tended to have the most success, and these tend to be systems that work with parameter adjustments. So you assume there's a reference cycle time, the time where you're going to run through all the cycles, and then the problem becomes, how do I split? What are my splits? How do I divide them up? And another, what is my offset to the next intersection if I want to think about coordinating with the cycle that the next intersection is running? So there are a number of approaches that sort of fall into this category. The problem, I guess, or one problem with respect to real-time, they're limiting with respect to real-time control. So really the problem is you're sort of integrating information. You are sensing approaching traffic, but you're integrating, sort of traffic patterns over minutes, basically, and then making adjustments on the order of minutes, 5, 10 minutes. It's adapting with progressions of patterns of change in there, but it's not really responding to real-time events. A second class of approaches that sort of emerged, that you see out there, are what I've called online intersection planning approaches here. These really do get more at the real-time planning problem. They focus on the real-time problem, and they also extend very naturally to the network level. So, if you want to think of network-wide coordination, it's a strong infrastructure for that. This is actually the approach, historically, this is actually the approach that we're going to take. Historically, this approach has not worked well, and it's really been a computational problem, or a computational issue, that in formulating this sort of prediction problem, this sort of generating this online generation of schedule, you really have to, either, historically, the trade-off has really been you limit the horizon, or you sort of make the granularity, you make a coarse granularity of time. So, and either way, you sort of lose the non-uniform flow of traffic. If you make the time too coarse, you lose that. If you make it too fine, you're only looking ahead maybe 10, 15 seconds. And so so it hasn't really made it into, in fact, the main innovation of what we've done is provide an alternative formulation that allows us to really compute this thing orders of magnitude faster. A third class is one where, in circumstances where you have a single dominant flow, sort of arterials, I don't know, in the U.S., essentially highways with signals, or moving through a bunch of strip malls, something like that. Where you have one dominant flow, then you can take advantage of that knowledge, and really the problem becomes much simpler. You can just manage the side streets. And there are a couple systems that sort of follow that kind of capability. AI research has also sort of looked, I'd say, a number of efforts that have looked at different kind of approaches to traffic signal control. Reinforcement learning has been investigated by several people. I've listed a couple here. Amazon was one of the earlier efforts. There's a system out of the University of Toronto that I believe is starting to go into a small field test, a system called Marlin, that is kind of based on this, at the core, using reinforcement learning to sort of, build a policy and maintain it. The problem there, again, is real time. We're interested in it takes time to adapt. We're interested in being able to respond to events like cultural event ending and parking garages emptying out, which creates a pattern for 10 minutes or whatever, and then change it again. So reinforcement learning, you can often find yourself kind of chasing your tail by not being able to keep up. Several people more in the area of autonomous vehicles have been looking at sort of reservation-based approaches to intersections. These could be interesting at some point in time, maybe 20, 30 years in the future, when we have 100% autonomous cars. But it makes a very strong assumption that there's nobody else in the mix. So, in areas where there's no pedestrians or whatever, that can possibly be. So, and even those tend to be kind of simple ingredient approaches rather than kind of trying to optimize traffic flow. Some work out of the room here, I guess, in the last couple of years. There's been some work with Scott Sander and his group doing mixed integer programming essentially as a way of sort of optimizing network. This was sort of an interesting novel approach that sort of greatly enhances the scalability of that kind of approach. Again, we're looking more at real time. And then I guess I've just become aware this year of some work that's going on here in London with Dan, his group, Lee, and some others. They're looking at PDA-based planning or generation of signal timing plans to kind of respond to congestion situations. So our system we've been involved in for the last 4 or 5 years now, a system we call SureTrack, stands for Scalable Urban Traffic Signal Control. As I said, we're focused on the urban traffic problem, the real-time optimization of grid networks. The urban problem is particularly challenging because there are multiple competing traffic flows that change over time. So we can't presume that there's one dominant flow and use that as an anchor point. The system really has to discover the flows as they ebb and flow over time. So the approach we take is decentralized control. Each intersection, I'll show you a little bit about that. Each intersection will sort of perceive the traffic that's approaching it, build its own local plan, and then intersections will communicate with each other to kind of achieve coordinated activity. So there are sort of several reasons and I guess benefits for kind of taking this kind of an approach. Total decentralization really puts the decision making as close to the intersection in real time as possible. Since it's decentralized, it's inherently scalable. There's no central planning bottleneck. And you can also grow the system incrementally. It's attractive from the standpoint of deployment in a lot of ways. So we spent some time developing a core approach. We then went through a series of piloting it in the field, and we've since been expanding that. So I'll get to all that. But so here's the basic concept of operations. If I think of signal control as an online planning process. So we're watching and we're extracting traffic conditions in real time from some sort of detection. Here's the video cameras. We also use radar in various places. As we capture the current approaching traffic flow, we build in real time a plan, a signal timing plan that essentially minimizes the cumulative delay of everything I can see through the intersection. Once I build that plan, I start to execute it, and you can see on the diagram here, we actually put a computer out at every intersection, and that sort of issues commands to the hardware controller, the physical device that actually runs the traffic lights. As we start to execute the plan, we also communicate now What the plan says what traffic will be sending to our downstream neighbors. Downstream neighbors doing the same thing. It's watching its traffic, computing its plan. Now it has an expectation of what's going to be behind the traffic that it can see, so it can plan the longer horizon. And then that whole process starts, repeats every couple seconds. The intersections are running asynchronously, but and that's really the key. We sort of operate in rolling horizon fashion. So there are really kind of two key technical ideas that sort of underlie this approach. The first is what I've called here schedule-driven intersection control. Basically, we formulate the problem as a special kind of single machine scheduling problem. The real innovation is this aggregate representation of traffic flows. So we abstract away from individual vehicles to sequences of queues and platoons. And those become the input jobs to our single machine. And we're just going to try to maximize throughput. The second idea then is this, what I've called schedule-driven coordination here. And in some sense, it's a very simple, we make a very simple optimistic assumption. We assume that things are going to execute as planned. And if they did execute as planned, we can give our downstream neighbors a great expectation of what to expect coming. Of course, it doesn't execute as planned. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. But we're hedging about that in a couple of ways. One is, since we're rolling horizon and we're replanning every couple of seconds, we have this constant recalibration mechanism going on. But also what we do is we layer on top of that that basic communication protocol, a couple of mechanisms for coping with specific kinds of miscoordination. So spillback is a phenomenon where you fill up for example, where you fill up the physical capacity of the road segment. So your cars start to hang out into the preceding intersection. That's one example of a mechanism. If we're building a local plan and we see that if we were to implement this local plan and it's going to cause spillback at our upstream neighbor, then we'll take a suboptimal action to sort of smooth that, alleviate that problem or that predicted problem. So here's an idea, real quickly, just of the approach. So this is, see here we have a stream of traffic approaching an intersection here, and the level which we're getting the sensing data is in terms of vehicles, triples basically, vehicles, arrival time, and departure times from the intersection. We'll do two kinds of clustering. One is we just do a simple threshold-based clustering. So vehicles that are in close proximity will cluster into some sort of platoon. And then a second kind of clustering we do is this anticipated queue. So we'll also aggregate those vehicles that are stopped at the intersection, plus those that we expect to be joining the queue before the queue clears. So that gives us our aggregate representation of jobs and our way of specifying the scheduling problem. So the scheduling problem here, let's just suppose we have two competing flows here that we want to trade off the green to. And so we've got our platoons here, and then a schedule is just going to be a sequence of those clusters. Treated as a non-preemptible problem. That's not entirely true, but for the core solver we do. And then if there's a reason that if we're exceeding some kind of a maximum constraint, maximum time limit constraint, a fairness constraint, then we'll split jobs. And then once I have a schedule, the schedule actually, since it's a sequence, defines a number of different specific timing plans if I want to, fit in when I'm actually going to turn to the yellow and change over time and often. So you can see here that we have a little bit of choice there. And so then the problem is just to minimize the cumulative delay of all jobs subject to the safety constraints, and changeover. and the fairness constraints. So each phase typically has a minimum and a maximum time to guarantee that no one gets starved out. We solved this problem using forward dynamic programming search. We sort of look at all possible sequences. We just add a new job at every decision stage, and then eliminate dominated solutions at each stage. So if we see sequences where the same clusters have been served, we can, and one dominates the other, then we can do that pruning. We have two versions of the problem. One that sort of solves this abstraction optimally, and another that does a little bit of greedy choice by only maintaining the state with a minimum delay at each extension. So, but the important point here is that whereas time complexity used to be a function of the number of time ticks looking forward, now time complexity is a function of the number of phases that you're looking at and the number of clusters you have. So instead of being able to look ahead 20 seconds now, we can look ahead minutes, and that's really the leverage that we've got. I talked about this already. This is the idea of where once I've built the schedule, then I can sort of apply my knowledge about turning proportions to estimate who's going to be, what kind of traffic flow I'm going to get at my downstream neighbors, and then that becomes that gives my downstream neighbor a longer horizon against which to plan. Some properties, it's very scalable. We only do pairwise communication. Even though we limited, though, you can imagine that if your planning horizon is long enough, information is eventually going to hop more than, or can hop more than one step. I talked about spillback. Another kind of coordination or mechanism for coding with miscoordination is what we call here network-driven actuated control. The idea here is, if you're running an adaptive system, typically what you'll do is the greater you can give the maximum, the larger you can make the maximum time constraints, the more flexibility you give the system to optimize. On the other hand, that means that the longer time that the small traffic flow is going to wait, and things like that. So this idea here, we actually communicate additional piece of information. Neighbors, each intersection will broadcast when it changes a phase, and that gives an intersection to, say, an upstream intersection, the opportunity to service cross traffic if it knows that as soon as it sends its traffic along, they're going to be stopping anyway. Then it's not so harmful to the local situation to service the cross traffic and get back on with sort of minimal delay in the dominant flow. So that's the second mechanism that essentially came about in servicing pedestrians. When we first deployed, we were really thinking about vehicles, and as soon as we deployed, we heard from a lot of pedestrians that we weren't doing a very good job. So we're very much more multimodal these kind of days. So here's what it looks like in the field. Probably not too easy to see here because I'm not connected. We actually put a little commodity computer this is the cabinet that sits at the intersection. I'm sure, if you look around at an intersection, I never knew this until I started working, but you can always find a cabinet there. This is connected to the device at the very top is the hardware controller. There's a serial connection there, and then in the middle there's the video processing boards. These are just commercial video detection. And then there's the big thing in the middle is the power supply. On the right here, you can see at the very top, that's a particular kind of camera, the one we were using in the pilot. And in the middle of that mast arm there is a radio, which we use for communication to neighbor to neighbor in circumstances where we don't have fiber. And then I'll come come back to that little device out the bottom in a few minutes. That's a DSRC radio that we use for communication with connected vehicles. We use a lot of sensing, typically two kinds of sensing. We have presence detection, which sort of just says if some vehicle is sitting there, and then you have smaller zones that allow us to do counting. What you do is sort of specify where in the image you want to track things. So we both basically use advanced detection to detect end of queues, and we also use, since we're in an urban setting, we use we detect cars leaving from the intersection, also exit detection, and that becomes the advanced detection for the next intersection down. So we tried, back in, this is several years ago now, back in 2012, we tried an initial pilot test with the system in East Liberty. It's a couple miles from campus. It was a 9-intersection grid. It's a fairly dynamic place. And there are really kind of three dominant flows that move through this area. There's an east-west flow along Penn Avenue. There's this sort of, west to north flow around the circle. And then, particularly at the PM time, coming from Shadyside, there's this northern exit of town. So there's three competing views. This is actually a video of the main intersection in that 9. And what we've done is we went out one afternoon and just took pictures before, or pre-existing and after. And these are obviously are sped up just to kind of give you a sense of the flow, and you can actually visually see the difference, the relative movements in the clear. We did do a formal analysis, so in June of 2012, and what we did was we kind of drove through the high volume routes in different times of day, multiple days, and so forth. So you can see that at different times of the day we get different kind of levels of improvement over what was there before. But overall, we got very strong results. Reducing average travel times through the network 26%. Not really so much because cars are moving faster, but they're not stopping nearly as much, and they're not idling, and they're not waiting as much. So 41% reduction. Our funding, we were funded by a foundation that was principally interested in air quality, and so we didn't actually measure air quality, but we did use a standard fuel consumption model and sort of estimate that we were reducing emissions by about 21%. So these 9 intersections have been operational since June of 2012. That was, the good results enthused our foundation partners, and we since have expanded several times. So in November of 2013, we expanded sort of 9 more intersections. So the purple ones are the original, down, moving east to Penn, and this is a big commute pattern here. You can see that the topology of the network is quite different, or somewhat different. This is more of a typical architecture, but where we started, you can see the intersections are really compressed, which really actually is a very difficult thing. But you can see we did the same kind of experimentation again, this time leaving the 9 intersections as in the on condition as the default, and seeing what the improvement was in the new section. You can see we've got pretty much identical sorts of results. We've since expanded a couple times since then, and we're now, I think we're now controlling a network as of last fall of 50 intersections. I think there's actually only 49 drawn on the map, but we are at, there's one extra one that's missing there. So last fall we did this 24 intersection expansion along Center Avenue. So we're now kind of, we have a very scalable kind of test, and each time we've done an expansion, we've done a similar kind of result or analysis, and we were getting essentially told me the results. So one thing I did want to, so that's kind of the state of where we are right now. One thing that, you know, this area is a very dynamic area. It's, I don't know, it's a kind of, Google Pittsburgh is there. It's kind of growing tech area. New people are moving into the area. There's a lot of construction there, which actually is a great situation for an adaptive system. However, well, so one thing, you can see a Highland Avenue on the map here. I think about 6 months after we originally installed in the first one, that bridge went out. It was getting rebuilt. And so for like a period of 9 months, it was like a completely different traffic pattern. Of course, there was more congestion, but you know, it's still sort of, we never made a single change, and just, you know, the system just adapts to the flows and moves. However, I guess about 6 months ago, or maybe a little longer than that, right in the core, they're doing this massive development now, and they basically took away half the capacity of the road. And, you know, obviously, you take away half of the capacity, they're going to be, there's going to be congestion, and we kind of visited that. And it's kind of given us this recognition that, you know, when you get to really a saturation point, you know, it becomes less of a scheduling problem. It becomes more of a problem of managing queues. And so I had a student that's been looking at this idea of actually motivated in a way by some of Chris Beck's work, and kind of looking at this idea of quantifying this degree of saturation, we're calling it network pressure here, and using that as a way of sort of modifying the control strategy. So basically, what we're doing is characterizing pressure in terms of 10 minutes? Okay, great. The inflows that are coming from the upstream, not only the inflows, but also the queues that exist both upstream and downstream and local, looking at the differential in those queues as a way of modifying the objective function to our core optimization. So, you know, we're maximizing cumulative throughput. Right now, the weight of a cluster is, or, you know, by default, the weight of a cluster is the number of vehicles. You know, so it's, but you can think of adjusting that weight. So we've used this sort of information about disparity between different queues, competing queues, as a way of biasing the optimization towards what amounts to queue management. And these are results of simulation. We haven't yet tried this in the field, but we can see that we're getting kind of the effect that we were hoping for, is that, you know, in situations of low, medium demand, really this weight sort of degenerates, and really there's a negligible effect to the overall control, and we sort of get the behavior that we did before. But in very, very saturated situations, we're able to do a lot better. So that's one area that we're sort of actively pursuing. The other area I want to just mention and talk for a few minutes about before I finish up is the work that we've been doing over the last year with integrating this real-time technology with this emerging connected vehicles. I'm sure most of you know about this idea, but, you know, starting with 2017 model years, at least in the U.S., at least some models are going to come equipped with these radios. Designated short-range communication, DSRC radios. Basic idea is safety, that, you know, a vehicle every 10th of a second says, here's my location, here's my heading, here's my speed. So I think those are the basic pieces of information that come out. So if two vehicles are close to each other and they notice that, then maybe they can either take evasive action or alert the driver to take evasive action. You know, you can also do the same thing with the intersection. The intersection can, you know, the basic safety idea is that the intersection will tell the approaching vehicles when it's going to turn red. Yeah, and then the vehicle can adjust its speed accordingly, or alert its driver to adjust the speed if so it's going to be. So when this last expansion, these 24 intersections that run along the Ballum Center, we also were able to get installed these DSRC radio antennas, so-called roadside equipment units. And so we have sort of a physical test bed for doing this, and that's kind of what we're exploiting now. Currently, the network is configured to essentially generate these safety messages. This is just a visualization of that same network using a tool that's sort of developed for sort of nationally watching. There's a program of affiliated test beds with the Department of Transportation. You can kind of go somewhere, I think it's in Detroit, and watch nationally all the connected intersections around. So this is just an illustration. But you kind of get, you can't really see that here, but you can get the state of every, just from these messages that are coming, the state of every intersection, and then these green, yellow, and red marks along the roadway there are actually connected vehicles that are distinguished in this case by speed, how fast they're going. We're basically interested in we're certainly always interested in safety, but we're more interested in mobility. What can we do out of, what kind of capabilities can we provide from a mobility enhancement point of view? Most people that are, kind of looking at this problem right now are sort of doing things like, well, one capability you're going to get right in the long term is sensing. You're going to get much more accurate sensing. So in the long term, probably video cameras, radar, whatever, can all go away. And so a lot of people are looking at the implications of that and what level of penetration you need to where you can kind of reliably do that. We're kind of having to take a different perspective, which is, let's assume we still have our existing detection. How can we use, how can we take further advantage of using the connected vehicle stuff? So some of the work that we're looking at right now, one is sort of moving transit vehicles more efficiently, and sharing route information and real-time routing. So I'll just say a couple words about that. In the longer term, we're also looking at some, where we do have great penetration. The idea of market-driven traffic control. I'm probably not going to have time to talk about that, but I'll give you a point or two of a paper on that. So one project that we started just in the beginning of this year, 5 minutes, okay, is a project with the Port Authority of Allegheny County. And the basic idea is to equip the buses, as a first step, equip buses that are moving through our corridors, and use that to accumulate mode information. The state of the art in traffic detection. You can detect large vehicles and small vehicles, and maybe bicycles, but you can't really distinguish buses. And in fact, there's a lot more information you'd like to know about a bus. So as a first step, we can just use these DSRCs to indicate that sort of buses can say, hey, I'm a bus and I'm coming. So we're looking at the idea of what we can, or if we have that information, what can we do with that? So as a first step, I mean, there are really kind of two things that we can do. But to sort of motivate we did this initial experiment just really to motivate the Port Authority to get interested in this idea. We did a simple experiment. You can't really see this display, but it's kind of common in our deployment, where a bus is stopped at a bus stop. And in Pittsburgh, a lot of the bus stops are near side the intersection. So the typical model that the bus pulls up, picks up people, blocks all the traffic behind it, then picks up, lets off his people, and then it eases into the red light and stops again. So, you know, there's a lot of room for opportunity. But here the idea was just being shown, since we are blocking traffic, take advantage of that. If I know that fact, I can take advantage of it and serve cross traffic and not really do it. So we did an experiment in simulation again, where we just assumed we knew a bus what time the bus, you know, was going to arrive at the intersection, and introduced a kind of a fixed delay. So we sort of ignore the detection problem and just pick one intersection in the network, and we see that even, you know, just dealing with that, servicing the cross traffic in one intersection, we're able to sort of improve the throughput of passenger vehicles through the overall network, not only passenger vehicles, but also buses. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Port Authority is interested improving their on-time schedule kind of reliability. So there's two kinds of things. So here's what we're doing right now. And, you know, this is, you know, I'm talking about this aggregate representation, but one thing we can do immediately is put in knowledge about bus stops and buses and use that information to give a much more accurate prediction of when the bus is actually going to get to the intersection. And that alone, without doing any kind of prioritization, that alone is going to, we expect, will improve traffic. So the idea here's sort of a simple idea of the extension we're doing now, that if we recognize a platoon that has a bus in it, we'll split that into two, you know, in this case knowing that there's a bus stop that's coming up, and then we can sort of time shift the arrival of the bus at the intersection according to what we know about the bus stop and the average dwell time at that bus stop. And then continue to propagate those delays to the vehicles or the clusters that are blocked behind that. So our basic idea is then we can just learn dwell times over time and finish that. So that's you know, that's one level of optimization. We could also, if you wanted to give priority to buses because they're moving more individuals, you could also do a weighting on that. Another, just share one more application that we worked with. Another student of mine has been looking at this idea of, suppose your connected vehicle is willing to share its route with the intersection. You know, I mean, everybody uses these navigation devices now in their vehicles to go around. What if you just communicated that route to the network? You know, so the idea here is simply that we do that, and then now we've got information, specific information of where this vehicle is going to go. We don't have to guess that it's going to turn at intersections. We know, and we can use that. We can fold that into the local optimization, and, you know, again, we do that with the weighting of clusters. And again, this is only simulation at this point, but you get very great results. It's you know, the average delay is significantly improved, and the interesting, you know, connected vehicle gets immediate benefit, you know, getting through the network much faster, and but there's no real adverse effect to the vehicles that you know, aren't connected, and as the level of penetration increases, you know, the average delay reduces. So it's kind of a win-win. So that's one area. You know, the next step, I guess, we do is you know, if the vehicle is willing to tell us its destination in the network, then we probably know about it. The distributed plan that we build over the immediate horizon has the best, I think, prediction of what's going to happen that you can get anywhere, and we can use that information to sort of compute shortest paths and give route guidance. So I'm going to skip this last point and just kind of finish up. Sort of what are our next steps? Pittsburgh, I don't know, some of you may have heard, there's Department of Transportation has this Smart Cities Challenge initiative that's out. They're going to give one mid-sized city in the U.S. $50 million to do smart city things. So Pittsburgh, you know, has applied. We've sort of made it through the, I think there were 78 proposals originally. They picked 7 finalists. Pittsburgh's one of them, and you know, we're actually going to hear it by the end of this month, I think. But SureTrack, kind of pushing this adaptive control more ubiquitously through the city is sort of the backbone of Pittsburgh's proposal. And this is just a graphic here of what, you know, the green is where we are now, but, you know, sort of 2 big, broad sort of extensions which actually give us great opportunities to do interesting things. The downtown triangle is part of this proposal, which at certain times of day is more pedestrian dominated than vehicle dominated, so it's really a great opportunity for us to sort of do multimodal kind of stuff. This corridor here from downtown to Oakland, which is where CMU and Pitt, the major cultural centers are, is going to be a rapid bus thing, and so again, we'll use our sort of bus. I mean, the idea is to use our bus priority thing. You know, sort of active attention to buses to kind of move that around more in the metro. So, final slide. So that's kind of where we're going locally. I guess if I look sort of bigger, you know, you know, as connected vehicle technology starts to proliferate, you know, the traffic signal network really. You can think of it as a gateway to increasing amounts of real-time information. And that's really where we're kind of focusing a lot of energy. There's tremendous opportunities for congestion mitigation by sort of doing online analysis of network performance. You know, if you have computing at the edge, you can do some of this locally, but you know, there's no reason why you can't spend time and look at more global trends, and then use that information. You know, one thing we're looking at is using performance information as a way of detecting incidents and then pushing that back for rerouting guidance. But as self-driving cars come along, they're going to, you know, depend on the same kind of information. Most of the work that's going on in self-driving cars now is really focused on local mobility, individual car mobility, but you know, the smart infrastructure is still going to, you know, even in a self-driving vehicle world, is going to, you know, be essential to sort of managing congestion and future urban mobilities. This is my group. Yeah, they do all the work, so I want to just acknowledge them also. Thanks.
As I say, we're rolling out a PDL plus solution in Manchester at the moment, which incidentally has just got £10 million to be a smart city. So if you do the conversion, not quite as much as $50 million, but it's quite an interesting parallel. So my question is based on kind of the flexibility of this. So one of the things about PDL plus that's is the flexibility of the approach in 2 ways. If I'm a traffic operator and in 3 hours I know there's going to be a pollution spike in a part of Manchester in a canyon, which if it occurs is going to cause well, asthmatics to have a hard time, and maybe we'll get fined by the EU if we go over our pollution limits. And I can adjust the goals, so it's a kind of goal adjustment rather than minimising traffic. I can have goals which will say, right, in that particular region I want things to go below a certain level. So there's a kind of goal thing. There's also, if I'm a traffic operator, I do have other controls at my disposal, as well as traffic lights. Traffic lights are obviously the biggest thing, but the controls also have variable speed limits, variable message signs, maybe extra lane introduction if it's sort of part of a bigger freeway. So I just wondered, there's those 2 sort of flexibility aspects that's attracted us to this centralised yet difficult to scale solution. But I'm just wondering, from a technical point of view, are those 2 kind of the goal variants and the introduction of other ways of affecting the traffic flows? Have you thought about how you would extend your approach to that?
Yeah, I mean, we've taken the opposite direction. We're totally decentralized. We have no, and it's really focused at this point on automated but we agree that, and think there are opportunities to kind of blend that with some sort of coordinated control. We haven't thought too deeply about you know, supporting human managers at, you know, at redirecting things. And I think that's a great important area. But we also, I mean, we tend to think in terms of, you know, we've been experimenting with putting out low-cost Bluetooth sensing along with it, and eventually you'll be able to get that right out of the DSRC as a way of doing self-monitoring of performance. And our original idea was just so that we didn't have to do all these drive-thrus all the time and have these spot evaluations we could just continuously know. But once you have the ability to kind of continuously monitor, I have no doubt that we're falling in the local minima, or you know, things are happening. And if you can detect that, I mean, that's part of the idea of our incident detection. So I'm not quite sure. We have some kind of, I guess our view has been more of trying to adjust parameters of the automated algorithm to kind of address different conditions rather than kind of explicitly post goals. But I think it's a great, I mean, it's a great problem. Yeah.
I'm wondering about how user-driver expectations adapt to this. So when I drive into work, there are certain signals that I know if I hit them at this time, right, I got 2 minutes to check my email.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the worst offender of that, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you noticed that drivers adapt to this, or do you find that, you know, the head-down situation sometimes in the light changes that causes other problems?
Well, yeah, you're right. I think there is some adaptation. One of the things that I think we have in our favor is, you know, one could imagine that you don't need to stay to a fixed cycle, but you could just, you know, I mean, you actually would have more flexibility to optimize if you could just arbitrarily go to different states. In fact, the cycle is a sort of an artifact of this analog computing world that no longer exists. So it would be much worse than that, I think. But you know, if you take a longer view, I guess a lot of when the self-driving cars come, they're not going to care what. I guess they could build up models like we have that you know, try to anticipate and so forth. But it's an adjustment, I guess. You know, what we've come to realize is that it's not just the vehicles too. It's the, you know, in urban environments you've got bicycles and pedestrians, and they're the ones that, if you're not careful, really have to adapt. And so we're really trying to pay more active attention to those kind of modes.
Hi Steve, great talk, great application. I was wondering if you do anything when unexpected events like accidents happen, shut down the intersection, do you detect that and do something, or does it just adapt to the situation?
Right now, I mean, it reacts to the change in congestion, but we're not actively. That's a hard problem. That's one we're working on. This ability to, you know, we're looking at the idea of if we are tracking real-time performance of the network and we can see these discontinuous kinds of shifts, then maybe that's a clue to us that something has happened, and we can either try to seek confirmation from some other data source or something like that, and start to reroute people as well. So we can't. We aren't redirecting vehicles now. Well, that's a goal that, you know, we would require them to be connected to us to do that. But one could imagine. Well, I was just talking about this the other night. I guess you would actually need hardware. I mean, you know, if you wanted to block off a road or, you know, force vehicles, you need something at the intersection to indicate that kind of thing. If that were the case, it would be easier. But I guess our longer view is that vehicles will be connected, and that we can use that as a way of redirecting.
Okay. So we're going to finish up this session now. Just one thing, announcement before we go. We are going to just do 5 minutes because we've still got some certificates to present, so we're going to delay the next session by 5 minutes to finish presenting these certificates. So don't leave yet, but let's thank Steve again for a great